All right, let's continue our discussion on finding the components of a force using the component method. So again, if we're going to use the component method, that means that the axes are perpendicular, okay, which means when we apply the parallelogram law, we're going to form a rectangle. Okay, the sides are actually perpendicular. Okay, let's solve problem number 2. Find the x and y components and the x prime and y prime components of each of the forces shown. Okay, so we have F1 and F2. So let's start with F1, the x and y components of F1, and the x prime and y prime components of F1. Okay, let's solve first for F1. So for F1, let's try to separate F1 from, let's have a different figure for F1. Okay, all right, let's try this. Let's draw the axis. So x and y muna ang solve natin, x and y components of F1. So we have F1 that is 80 pounds, 800 pounds, I should say. And we have this angle that's 25 degrees from the y prime axis, I should say. And then we have 45 degrees from the x-axis. Okay, so that is equivalent to 70 degrees from the x-axis. So the direction of F1 from the positive x-axis is 70 degrees. So let's try to draw F1. I-approximate na lang natin. Okay, so this is F1, which is 800 pounds. And the angle here, see, angle dito is the sum of these two angles. We have 25 degrees and we have 45 degrees here, so that is equivalent to 70 degrees. This is x and that is y axis. Okay, so we're solving for the component of the force. So this is F1y and this is F1 x. So I have already discussed before that the component method is just an application of the parallelogram law where the parallelogram is actually a rectangle, no? So solve natin yung dalawang components. Okay, so to solve for F1x, here. So F1x is equivalent to, so this component, okay, that's the adjacent side of the triangle. So by the way, you can transfer ito dito, no? And we're going to form a forced triangle. So this is also F1 y. Okay? So ito yung, if extend this rectangle yan, no? Ayan. So it's just an application of the parallelogram law. Okay, so i-transfer na natin siya dito since parehas lang sila ng magnitude and direction. Okay, so F1x is equal to, since this is the adjacent side and this is actually perpendicular since rectangle yan, or right triangle. So we have F1x is this adjacent side. So pag adjacent, gamitin natin cosine. So we have the force na 800 pounds times the cosine of the angle 70 degrees. So this is 273.616 pounds. So that is the x component of F1. Okay, and then F1y, the y component of F1 of f1 is equal to, so the opposite side is f1y. So kapag opposite, we're going to use what particular trigonometric function? We're going to use sine, no? So we have 800 pounds times sine of 70 degrees, that is equivalent to 751.754 pounds. So yun na. So f1x, and we also have f1y here. Okay? Alright. Okay, next, let's solve for the x prime and y prime component of f1. So let's try to draw again another figure. So, yung figure natin. So, drawing ulit. Okay. So yung ating axis is rotated 45 degrees, no, from the horizontal axis. So i-rotate natin siya. So 45 degrees. So as much as possible, dapat naka-scale yung ating drawing, no. Naka-scale or yan. So this is the y prime axis. This is x, this is y, and the x prime is also rotated. So may rotation yung ating axis. Perpendicular pa rin, of course, no? Ayan. So the axis are perpendicular, and where is our force? Nandito yung force natin. Shucks, gumalaw. Ayan. Okay. Alright, so this is F1, which is 800 pounds. Okay? So we're going to resolve yung F1 sa yung components niya sa x prime and y prime axis. Okay? So this is also x prime and this is also y prime. Okay. So saan ba to? So yung angle natin, don't forget to include also our angle. So this is 25 degrees yung angle natin na yan. Okay. And yung ating components, so yung components natin, so applying the parallelogram law. So anong gagawin natin pag parallelogram law? Drawing lang tayo ng, so from the tail or from the head of the force, so drawing lang tayo ng rectangle. Ayan. Okay? And then, so na yung components natin. So ito yung components natin. So this will be our components. So this would be F1 y prime. And saan yung x prime component natin ay nandito. Ulit lang siya. So this is F1 x prime. Okay? So, so ito. So since we're using the parallelogram law, F1y prime, parallel siya dito. So the same din ito, no, yung magnitude and direction. So this is also F1y prime, itong side na to. Ganon din dito. Okay? Parallel. So same magnitude, same direction. So this is also F1 x prime. Okay? So, you can isolate any of the two triangles here. Okay, ito na lang yung gamitin natin na sa pag-solve ng F1 x prime and then F1 y prime. So, using this triangle, so F1 x prime is equal to, So f1x prime is opposite. Opposite. Kapag opposite, we're going to use sine. So we have 800. So yung hypotenuse natin is 800 pounds. Times yung sine of 25 degrees. So remember, this is now our angle, that is 25 degrees. So that is equivalent to ilan? 338.095 pounds. So that is the F1x prime. Okay, next is F1 y prime. Ito, how do you solve this component of the force F1? So adjacent side, so obviously kapag adjacent, cosine. No. So adjacent, cosine. So given yung hypotenuse natin na 800 pounds, so cosine of 25 degrees, so that is equivalent to 725.046 pounds. Okay? So, yan. Okay. Okay. So, tapos na tayo sa F1. So, let's proceed to F2. Okay, F2 naman ang i-resolve natin sa X and Y components. So, for F2, let's try again draw the Cartesian plane. Hope that is visible dun sa camera natin. Okay. Okay, nasan yung F2? Okay, ito yung F2 natin. So, let's try to draw that in our figure. So F2 is located 30 degrees below the positive horizontal axis, so x-axis natin. So this is 30 degrees. So okay. So that is F2, 650 pounds yung F2 natin. And then yung components niya, so sorry for the components. Mag-drawing ulit tayo ng rectangle. So from the head of the force, ayan, drawing lang tayo. Rectangle, parallelogram law. Para siyang hindi rectangle. Ayan. So the components would be, ito yung sa may x-axis. This is x, y. And this is the component along y-axis. So this is F2x, this is F2y. So since parallel ito, this means that ito ay F2x din, and this is also F2y. So parallel, same direction, same magnitude. And then you can consider any of these two triangles. I forgot to include the angle. So this is 30 degrees. 30 degrees, which means that this is 60 degrees. So if you're going to consider this triangle, so use this angle. No. Or you may use this angle or triangle also. That is 30 degrees yung angle natin. Okay? So let's solve for F2x. So F2x now is equal to, so adjacent side, itong F2x natin. So if you're going to consider this triangle, itong triangle na yan, this is 60 degrees. F2x now would be the opposite side. So you're going to use sine functions. So if you're going to use this triangle, this angle is 30 degrees, and x F2x now is the adjacent side, so you're going to use cosine. So, depende na sa kung anong triangle ang gamitin natin. Basta consistent tayo sa paggamit ng angles. Okay? So, F2x is equal to, so adjacent sides, so that is cosine. So, the magnitude of F2 is 650, which is the hypotenuse of the triangle, right triangle. So, 650 pounds times cosine of 30 degrees, that is equivalent to 562.917 pounds. Okay? And then F2y, so F2y natin is the opposite side. If you're going to consider this triangle, F2y is the adjacent side. Okay? So, since we are analyzing this triangle, so the opposite side siya, which means we're going to use the sine function. So, we have 650 pounds times sine of 30 degrees. That is equivalent to 325 pounds. So, these are the components along x and y axis of F2. Okay? So next, the x prime and y prime component of the force F2. Okay, drawing ulit tayo ng Cartesian plane. Okay. So again, the axis x prime and y prime is rotated 45 degrees yung rotation natin from the positive x axis. So, try natin, ayan, this is the y prime axis. Broken lines na lang gamitin natin. And the x prime axis, broken lines na rin. Hindi siya 45 pero sige. Okay, good. And nasaan yung ating F2? Gawin natin yung F2. F2 is somewhere here. Okay, that's our F2, which is equivalent to 650 pounds. And F2 is located 30 degrees from below the positive x axis. So this is xy, this is y prime, this is x prime. It's 30 degrees and this is 45 degrees. Given itong mga angles na to. Okay? Alright, so nasaan ngayon ang ating components along x prime and y prime axis. So again, since we're using the parallelogram law or the component method, our parallelogram is a rectangle. So from the head of our force, drawing lang tayo ng rectangle perpendicular sa ating mga axis. Ayan. Ayan. Hindi siya rectangle. Imagine nyo lang, rectangle yan. Nantok na ako. Alright. Okay, so that's it. Nasaan yung ating components? So, this would be our x prime component of the force. So, this is F2x prime. Nasaan yung y component natin? Ito. Yung y component, y prime component. So, this is F2y F2y prime. Yan. Ito yung force natin. So, i-resolve natin yan. So, if this is F2y prime, this is also F2y prime. And this is F2x prime. Parallel siya dito. So, that's F2x prime also. So, you can use either of these two triangles. So, sa anong triangle ang gagamitin natin ngayon? So, ito ay F2 x prime din itong force na yan. Okay? And this is also F2y prime since parallel lang yung dalawang forces na yan. So, anong gagamitin natin na triangle? Ito or ito. So, kahit ano naman dyan ay pwede nating gamitin. Pero since ito naman na yung given, mayroon naman tayo sakto yung given na angle dito. So, this is 30 degrees. No, 30 degrees is 45 degrees. So, itong angle na ito, this angle is actually equal to ilan? So, 45 plus 30, that is 75 degrees. Okay, so 75 degrees yun. So, we're going to use this triangle na lang para mas madali yung ating pag-solve ng components. So, if you're going to use this triangle to solve for f2x, so the opposite siya. So, we're going to use the sine function. Kita ba? Okay. So, f2x prime is equal to, so opposite yon. So, we have the magnitude, which is 650 pounds, times opposite is sine 75 degrees, and that is equivalent to 627.852 pounds. And f2y prime, ito adjacent natin. Adjacent, we're going to use cosine. So that's equivalent to 168.232 pounds. Okay? So that is problem number 2.